Okay, this video is about training methods. How do we train anaerobic capacity, aerobic capacity? So, when we're thinking about training, an initial distinction to make is this anaerobic training or aerobic training? Because that's going to impact the duration and as well as the intensity that we work at. Obviously, anaerobic training is going to be at a higher intensity with maybe greater amount of rest and recovery. Aerobic training, lower intensity, but with fewer recovery breaks. For the purposes of 3-4, we need to know a variety of different ways to train the fitness components that we've analysed as being critical in netball. This table helps to highlight what fitness components are targeted with the various training methods. So if we look at this one here, long interval training. Long gives you a hint that it's aerobic. So the energy system is the aerobic energy system. So the fitness components relevant to this training method is aerobic capacity. It also helps with our body composition because it helps to help with our weight management. But also, I would also tick muscular endurance. I'm not sure why that's not ticked. Another aerobic one, fartlek training. That's a type of training method that uses bursts of speed. That also increases our aerobic capacity, our body composition. Same with continuous training. These are pretty much our aerobic capacity training methods. Long, sometimes medium interval training, you could argue, is also aerobic. Continuous, fartlek, and also circuits. Remember the other day when we were doing the circuit, our heart rate was getting up there, and if it is between the range of 70 and 85% of heart rate max, then if we can maintain that for 20 minutes, then that will give us some aerobic conditioning that will help produce those chronic adaptations, those long-lasting, bigger left ventricle capillarization to help deliver more oxygen. So they are the main methods of training to improve our aerobic capacity. Now, more anaerobic training, so this is definitely short interval training, and also medium interval training that often trains both systems. Obviously speed work. These are going to improve our anaerobic capacity. So also, as you can see, other training methods such as plyometrics, resistance training, and even circuit training also help develop our anaerobic capacity, whether it's ATP, CP, or our anaerobic glycolysis. Okay. This table also helps to show, particularly for circuit training helps to develop a number of different fitness components, such as anaerobic capacity, power, strength. Also, we can also develop our speed, local muscular endurance, aerobic capacity, flexibility depending upon the exercises chosen, and also body composition, help with weight management. Okay, so here's a list of all the different types of training methods. We need to understand how they improve our aerobic capacity, our muscular strength, muscular endurance, and our speed. So let's go through them. Interval training. Interval training is where athletes use a combination of work and rest in order to target specific energy systems. So our short interval training that we did the other day generally operates with a work to rest ratio of generally 1 to 3, 1 to 4, 1 to 5, 1 to 6. Obviously, the longer the rest, the work is very intense, maximal intensity, and of a short duration, which generally leads to benefits and improvements in our ATP-CP system, but also our anaerobic glycolysis. Whereas our intermediate and our long interval training, this is where our work to rest ratio is lower. So we have a smaller rest compared with the short interval training. So 1 to 2, for example, that means we work for 1 and we rest for twice that amount. So if we're working for 30 seconds, we'll rest for 1 minute. 30 seconds, rest for a minute. And as you can see, intermediate or medium interval training gets benefits in both the aerobic system and the anaerobic system. Now, I also want you to pay close attention to the intensity. Remember, anything aerobic is generally between 70 and 85% of heart rate max. To get those adaptations of increased left ventricle, increased capillarization, increased diffusion, increased AVO2 difference, we need to stay within that intensity zone, 70 to 85%. With that more anaerobic interval training, we want to go over 85%. Anything over 85%, we're getting ATP without oxygen. We're generating ATP anaerobically. And as you can see with the short interval training, the intensity is maximal, 100%. And that's why the duration, as you can see, is much shorter. Okay, and that's, as we know, that's in line with the peak power of the ATP-CP system. So, to summarise, interval training, you need to know which energy system each of them targets, what the work to rest ratio is, and what is the intensity, okay? And that should help you figure out the duration, all right? You can have a look at this slide. This just gives some definitions of the terminology used, such as repetitions, you know, the amount of times you do a rep. All right, continuous training. We're going to do continuous training when we go to Listerfield Lake. So that's just run, and we keep running. Or it can be swimming or cycling. Doesn't matter what the mode of or type of activity it is. It's that it's continuous in nature. And this targets the aerobic system. And again, the training zone, the intensity for continuous training to target those aerobic capacity chronic adaptations, 70 to 85% of heart rate max. And also the duration, how long that you are doing this activity for, needs to be a minimum of 20 minutes, okay? 20 minutes of non-stop. Now, beginner athletes may not be able to run or swim or cycle continuously for 20 minutes. So they would begin by walking, running, until eventually they could run continuously for 20 minutes until they build up enough strength to be able to do that. Okay, if I could put on a Swedish accent, I would. Fartlek training was originated in Sweden, and it's where they incorporate some speed, whether that's sprinting up a hill or sprinting a set distance or a set time periodically throughout the training is what fartlek is about. And fartlek training is great because it works it's primarily aerobic because it goes for longer than 2 minutes, and however, because you are increasing speed periodically throughout the training session, you're also helping improve your lactate inflection point if those speed segments of your training is done at that 85 to 87% of heart rate max. So fartlek training helps both the aerobic and the anaerobic energy systems. Okay, our weight resistance. Weight resistance primarily helps to improve our muscular strength, power, and endurance. Strength, heavy. Power, fast. And endurance, just keep going, just keep going. So how we target those different fitness components, muscular strength, muscular power, muscular endurance, is by manipulating the weight, I wish like Ryan did, the weight that he would pick up a dumbbell for a bicep curl, also the number of repetition, and also the speed at which you perform the exercise. So this table illustrates that. Simply put, strength, heavy weight, low reps. Power, you do them fast. So not super heavy weight, but in between. That's why power is 30 to 60%. So that's sort of like in between. And this number is of your repetition max. So say, for example, you can bench press 100 kilos. That's the most that you can bench press. When you are doing a set of bench presses, you would choose a weight of about 60 to 70 kilograms, and you would do about 8 to 10 of them, and you do 1 to 3 sets. So you would do it 1 or 2 or 3 times. To begin with, you'd begin with 1 set, and then you would overload, increase the stress to your body's going to 2 sets, then 3 sets. So as you can see, so when you do strength, you might use a weight that's 70% of the maximal weight that you can use. Endurance is the opposite to strength. Endurance is a very low weight, so you use a much lower weight so that you can do lots of them, because endurance means you want to keep repeating. Remember the definition of endurance: repeatedly contracting over a long period of time. So you need a smaller weight for that, so 40 to 60% of your maximal repetition max, and you do at least 15 of them. Okay, so low weight for muscular endurance, higher weight for muscular strength, high rep for endurance, low reps for strength, and for power it's in the middle, and we do them fast because you're trying to, power is producing a force quickly. Okay, now these guidelines differ slightly for someone who's more advanced. As you can see, for a more advanced performer, your strength weight would go to closer to your repetition max, and you would probably maybe not be able to do as many of them. So your repetition, how many you do, might be limited to maybe 2 or 3 or 4. So that's the main difference there. If you're unfamiliar with the terminology associated with weight training, have a look at this table. All right, with resistance training, primarily power and strength and endurance. Hang on, sorry. Okay, as we know, our muscles have slow twitch and we've got our fast twitch fibers. Remember, fast twitch are more anaerobic, slow twitch are aerobic. So again, when we are targeting strength or power, where you're trying to like move a lot of resistance or do it quickly, we're mainly recruiting our fast twitch fibers. Whereas when we're doing endurance type weight resistance, we're doing not a very high weight, but we're doing lots of them. So that would target more of the slow twitch muscle fiber.
Okay, speed training. Speed training helps to increase an athlete's efficiency by maximizing their frequency, so how quickly they run, and also how effectively they can increase their stride length. If we can cover more ground more quickly, we'll be able to get from point A to point B much faster. So speed training not only targets the energy system, but it also targets our neural pathways and our coordination to be able to run with better technique, which will cost less oxygen, so we can move faster. Speed training is also a useful method to use in conjunction with plyometrics, because that also looks at generating a faster performance. Okay, so what is plyometrics? Plyometrics is when we combine eccentric contractions, so that's when a muscle is lengthening under load, and you couple this or you connect this to produce a rapid concentric contraction. So what happens in our muscles, if I'm, say, lowering this a very heavy weight, my muscle is under tension, it's under load, but it's lengthening. Now, my muscles want to protect themselves from overextending, so the stored elastic energy in my muscles helps to then produce a stretch reflex, because my body wants to protect itself, so it has a reflex that recoils to help produce a rapid, powerful concentric. Concentric just means shortening of the muscle under load, and that combination of eccentric contraction followed by a rapid concentric helps to improve strength and the neural pathways to be able to recruit more muscle fibers so that we can produce more force. All right. On this slide, there's a couple of examples of how to do that. So it's combining lengthening under load followed by a rapid. So as you can see, doing a jump squat, eccentric, increasing the length of the muscle under load, and then jumping powerfully by using the stretch reflex helps to develop the muscle's ability to call upon, recruit more muscle fibers, and produce a more powerful force. And what does that do? That improves your speed, improves your power, which generally is associated with anaerobic type events. However, it can also help aerobic athletes because it helps to create more efficiency. So if you are more efficient, you use less oxygen, therefore more of that oxygen can be used to go faster aerobically for longer. One last thing with plyometrics, because eccentric contractions are more difficult, they are more stressful on the body, generally plyometrics is not recommended for beginner athletes, beginner individuals. You generally have to have a sound strength level before you begin plyometrics. Okay, circuit training, that's what we did the other day. Lots of different exercises that you generally do for about 60 seconds. The great thing with circuit training is it targets, different muscle groups. You can do squats for your lower body, abs. You can do upper body, bicep curls or push-ups. It's great for a large population of people. And not only does it help develop some muscular endurance, but it also helps to develop your aerobic capacity, because your heart rate is between that 70 and 85% of heart rate max if you do it for 20 minutes. So circuit training has lots of benefits. There are a couple of different types of circuits. The one we did the other day is the most common, the fixed time. We did it for 3 minutes. I think that was a bit long. Generally, you do it for about 60 seconds, about 1 minute, and that doesn't even get too boring either. And you just rotate through all the different exercises. Alternatively, you can do a fixed number of exercise, and that can take as long as it takes you personally to do them, such as do 4 10-meter sprints, or 20 sit-ups, or 10 push-ups. That's another type of circuit. And the last one is an individual load, where everybody's working at 50 to 60% of their own capacity, their own potential. For example, I know that Kate would be able to do more sit-ups than I would, so both of us going through that station would do a different number based on our own individual capabilities. Next one, core strength. Core strength mainly target our abdominal region, not just our rectus abdominis that does this motion, but our stabilizing abdominal muscles called our transverse abdominis or our obliques. And these help to maintain good posture, good efficiency, and good balance. So core strength is very important for nearly every single sport. And there's a number of different ways to improve core strength. You can use Swiss balls, you can use Pilates machine equipment, you can use your own body weight. Core strength also helps to reduce injuries, but it's mainly to enable you to perform more efficiently, so you're not wasting energy. For example, running, if you have a very strong core, all your energy is going forward, whereas if you're running and you have a weak core, all your energy is moving side to side. So it helps with your efficiency. Less oxygen cost, so therefore that oxygen can go into helping you go faster. Last one, flexibility training. This is one of my favorites. The importance of flexibility, it helps you maximize the amount of strength or force you can produce, but it also, it minimizes the risk of injury, or maximizes, means you are less likely to get injured. It also helps reduce that soreness, that delayed onset of muscle soreness, which is called DOMS, if you stretch, and also helps to improve efficiency if your posture is more correctly aligned. There are 3 different types of flexibility training. One is the static or the still stretch, such as this one. Okay, I'm just holding, I'm stretching the muscle in the joint. It's static. Then there's dynamic. Dynamic means moving or changing. So that's moving a body part through its range of motion. And finally, PNF, proprioception neuromuscular facilitation. This is where you generally use a partner to combine a contraction, an isometric contraction, and then you relax, and then you increase the stretch. Then you push against a force isometrically because the muscle length is not changing. Then you relax, then you increase it. We will do this in our training sessions together. Finally, when we train, when we do a training session and when we fill out our diaries, an important part of each training session is the warm-up.
and followed by the session, and then followed by a cool down. And as you've been learning about appropriate recovery strategies, it might be a passive recovery or an active recovery. It might include some water therapy, some contrast water therapy, some massage, clothing, and all of these things help to maximize your recovery, remove metabolic byproducts, and the cool down is arguably the best time to do some static or dynamic stretching to not leave those muscles tight, which can then cause injury and rubbing and things like that.